John Winters, Supermarket Sleuth, talking to you once again from Auckland. And this week I'm doing a short special before I bring you the latest news from the UK and from New Zealand. Now, the special. What are we to expect in our supermarkets over the next few months? Well, there are two things that are having an impact on the supermarkets. The first one is COVID. And the problem with COVID is that it's having a serious impact on imports and exports. And from the supermarket's point of view, obviously it's imports. And imports from Europe for the British supermarkets mainly, and from other parts of the world, whether they be packaged goods or wine or other forms of alcohol or fresh produce. It's having an impact. So I think you should expect there to be shortages or nothing at all of things that you're looking for. So you're going to have to, excuse me a minute, you're going to have to cut your cloth according to your coat. And that means that you'll just have to choose other things until stock comes in. And as far as the UK is concerned, and we'll look at the UK first, the other impact, of course, is Brexit. And Brexit, as we've seen already in the media, is having an impact with customs in Europe over the other side of the channel being difficult and obstructing trucks either coming into the country or coming out of the country to bring stuff to the UK. So I think we're going to have to expect this sort of situation to be continuing for some months, which means if you normally have things that come in from Europe, you normally get them in your supermarket, I'm afraid you might have to do without them for the time being until the situation improves. And as far as the other countries in the world are concerned, which is the other countries I talked to is Australia and New Zealand, COVID is the big problem here, and COVID is seriously impacting imports. And in normal times when the airlines are flying on the normal schedules, then of course they bring in cargo as well as passengers, and so a lot of things come in via airlines to our supermarkets that come in from overseas. But with fewer flights, I know some airlines are switching to import goods only, and obviously not passengers. Excuse me a minute. With that situation happening, then trouble is it means that the imports are going to be more expensive because they're coming by air rather than perhaps by sea, and so it's having an impact on prices, and it will have an impact on availability of product on our supermarket shelves. So I would suggest that for the time being you switch to other choices if you can't get your normal brands or normal produce or whatever in your supermarkets. Then I'm afraid something else will have to do. Sad, but I'm afraid that's the situation we face currently in 2021. Now, looking at other news and kicking off with the UK, Amazon was said to be planning to launch its high-tech checkout-free grocery store format in the UK, but word has it that it's hit a snag. We heard last year it was looking to open its first Go store in a 20,000 square foot unit near Notting Hill Gate in London. Now, This Is Money, which is a magazine, says the developer of the site went belly up towards the end of last year. Administrators were called in to manage the Lux Notting Hill Gate development following the collapse. It seems the developer's interests in the property may have been sold on, and it's not clear what the future of the plan is likely to be. It was in 2018 that Amazon launched the format and already has more than 25 Go convenience stores operating in US cities. In the meantime, the group has also been testing a larger Go grocery format to compete more directly with traditional supermarkets. The stores use a variety of cameras and sensors that detect which products customers pick up off the shelves and put in their baskets. Shoppers are then automatically charged through an app when leaving the store. Morrisons is likely to supply the products as it already has an existing arrangement with Amazon's online grocery service. And staying with Amazon in the UK, and this is really going to irritate the supermarkets, it's gaining share in the alcohol market by offering big discounts on leading brands. The Daily Mail found that Amazon's offering prices on drinks more than 10% lower than in the leading supermarkets. It quotes data from Kantar that shows Amazon's alcohol sales have soared 663% in the last 4 years, outperforming the market, which rose 38%. Analysts suggest part of the reason Amazon is able to beat the supermarkets on price is because they have lower overheads, paying less rent rates and corporation tax. And on the subject of alcohol, British wine drinkers face higher prices and reduced ranges because of post-breakfast paperwork. In the Financial Times, importers are quoted as saying the cost of new customs declarations and certifications, plus higher haulage prices, will start to push up prices, while flat rate costs per shipment will result in wholesalers offering a narrower selection of bottles. A wine wholesaler who imports 2 million bottles a year said he believed post-Brexit bureaucracy would add up to £1.50 to the price of a £12 bottle of wine. One Porto-based retailer is said to have told his customers recently that one of his best-selling lines in the UK, which had cost about £4.70 including taxes and shipping, would now cost between £7 and £8. The FT also says small winemakers face bigger price rises due to flat fees on each shipment, while the impact would be less for mass market wines in supermarkets. The UK imports £4.4 billion worth of wine a year, with more than $3 billion coming from the EU. So my suggestion is that as the EU is deliberately making it tougher all round for the UK, wine importers should turn to New World wines coming from Australasia or California. This way, if the Europeans lose their British market, it's by no means the end of the world. And once the British get used to enjoying wines from other world suppliers, then that market may be lost forever for Europe. And I'm afraid it's going to be their own fault. When you see big differences in wine prices between France and Italy to other world suppliers, why not take the plunge? You'll not only save money, but you may also quite enjoy the alternatives. Now, every dark cloud has a silver lining, and this is true in the case of COVID-19. Frozen food went out of fashion in the last 10 years, with more and more shoppers turning to fresh, but now COVID's changed all that. Sales finished 2020 on a high, adding another £225 million in the last 3-month period, according to the latest Kantar figures released by the British Frozen Food Federation, the BFFF. The data shows that the frozen food aisle has been the star performer of grocery retail in the last 12 months, doing better in terms of value and volume percentage growth than any other category, of course, apart from alcohol. The latest figures for the year to 29 November show that the overall grocery market grew 11.3% in value and 9% in volume. By comparison, frozen food sales outperformed the total market in both value, up 13.8%, and volume, up 11.5% terms. In total, the frozen category added £871 million in sales value over the 52 weeks and exceeded the fresh and chilled category in both value and volume in percentage growth. The figures show that of the 9 categories reported by Kantar, all are in value growth, with 6 in double-digit growth. It's a similar picture in volume, with 8 categories in growth, of which 5 are in double-digit growth. Average price has also gone up by 2%, slightly behind the 2.1% for total grocery. Yet the average price of fresh and chilled has declined by 0.8%. Tesco is still the leading frozen food retailer with 23% of sales by value, slightly down year on year, but almost double that of the second largest retailer of frozen food, Asda, with 12.5%. Waitrose, M&S and Ocado all saw a small increase in their share of frozen sales in the last 12 months. And now this is a surprise. The retailer you would expect to gain from this, Iceland, showed a slight decline in sales but still recorded significant value growth with all other retailers. Finally, from the UK, and here's a weird one, British-owned Unilever has developed a portable food factory operating within a 40-foot shipping container. It's been designed as a flexible production line that can move around the world. It's currently being trialled in the Netherlands, producing liquid bouillon for Unilever's Food Solutions business. The company said the production could in the future potentially be expanded to mayonnaise, ketchup and ice cream. The unit covers the end-to-end production process from raw materials through to packaging. What is the point? The company sees the travel factory model allowing it to respond more quickly to changing market demand and to take full advantage of local ingredients, as production can be shipped to different locations across the world. Obviously, smaller competitors able to move faster are having an impact. It can also be used to produce small volumes for product trials without using mass production lines, leading to low material waste. Unilever said the production solution could expand to other parts of its portfolio, including beauty and home care products. It also plans to lease, rent or sell many of the production units to young entrepreneurs, opening up the opportunity for new ways of working to others. Right, now we head to New Zealand and an interesting development. A billionaire has bought some land for a supermarket. Now the supermarket is part of the Woolworths chain store group, Countdown, and this one is a Metro and is being built in one of, or in fact the most expensive suburb in Auckland. Now the peculiarity of this is a very unusual situation. I haven't come across it before. What's happened in the past is that supermarkets buy land over the course of time, far ahead of when it's going to be needed, and they build up a land bank looking at when the city is going to expand and that areas are going to become neighbourhoods and suburbs, and then their land, they can put a supermarket on it. But what's happened in the past is that because they've been using cash that they have to build new supermarkets and refurbish, they've been selling off land that other supermarkets are on, obviously with a fairly long lease, and then using that cash on expanding their stores and improving their stores. So what I think is happening is the supermarkets are cutting a corner, and instead of putting their own money into land, they're using someone else's money and then taking out a long lease. I wonder if it'll catch on in other parts of the world. Could this be a game changer for supermarkets? Now we have another interesting situation which I've not come across before, and that is that one of my listeners to my Weekend Life radio program in Auckland on a Saturday morning sent in a picture of a mobility scooter going around the aisles of Pack and Save, which is our largest supermarket in the country, and the listener said that the driver of the mobility scooter, an elderly gentleman, was not seeming to buy anything. He was just zipping round and having a look and not actually putting anything in his trolley or his basket on his scooter. Now that, I think, is extremely dangerous. Apparently our listener says he was going too fast, in his opinion. Now the problem is, as I have had this, and I'm sure you have, if you're pushing a trolley to the end of an aisle, as you get to the end of the aisle, suddenly someone comes across in front of you as they're going the other way, and it can be very dangerous. So I'm thinking that this mobility scooter could easily run into a little child running around, or an elderly person coming around the corner, and I'm just amazed that the supermarket group, which is Foodstuffs, our independent supermarket, has allowed it to happen. Now I've asked them to comment upon this, and Annette Laird, who's head of corporate affairs at Foodstuffs, said they don't have a particular policy surrounding mobility scooter speed limits, but they hope that customers will be sensible when they're on these and driving around the store. But I'm afraid you can't assume that will happen, and I think they need to do something about it and have some control over it. She did say that if customers are unhappy about this situation, they can go and report to a staff member, and then the person on the mobility scooter will be spoken to. Right, well that's it for this week, everybody. I'll be back again next week with more news from around the world, and so until then, Have a good week, and if you want to tune in to my radio show on a Saturday morning, New Zealand time, it's 10:45 a.m. Otherwise, catch me on Supermarket Sleuth on Facebook, and that recording will be on there later on in the weekend. And also check out my checkout book that I'm reading gradually through, and it's also on the checkout page on Facebook. Bye for now.